Hey friends, welcome back to Thrive in Aligned Healing Podcast. This is episode 91. And this week and next week, actually, we get her twice. We have a special guest, Sandra Lee. She is an expert in human design and biofield tuning. We're going to break these up into 2 episodes. We're going to nerd out first episode on human design, and then we're going to nerd out next episode into biofield tuning. So I would just love to welcome you, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming onto our podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yes. So let's talk human design. Tell us about how you came. I know you've been doing it for 8 years. Yep. Tell us about how you came onto this journey, why you love it.
Okay. Well, first, let me tell you a little bit about what it is. Okay. Yes. So it gives me a chart based on my birthday and where the planets were at the time I was born.
Okay.
And it's similar to astrology, but different.
Okay.
And when I started human design, I didn't believe that the positions of the planets mattered to me, because I had quite a few astrology readings and had them make zero sense to me. As far as I was concerned, the positions of the planets didn't impact my life because nothing from any of those astrology readings made any difference. Mm-hmm. Some people live their lives based on their astrology, they make decisions based on their astrology, and there's no space in my head for any of that information. So I didn't think it mattered. And then my teacher is Karen Curry Parker, my human design teacher, and I listened to her on a teleseminar series. So one of those series where you have 30 odd people, each giving their expertise. Okay. And I learned things about myself and my life that are still relevant every day, all the way to now. Every single day, when I learned about anger and myself and anger is oh yeah, every day it matters to me. Mm-hmm. And so I learned, it's wow, maybe this makes a difference. And I jumped into her training program and I inhaled it. The first level of her class, supposed to take 7 weeks or something. I did it in one day because it was recorded, right? Yeah. And now I've done much more training than that. And when I do human design readings for people, it is shocking how accurate it is.
Yeah.
And I ask everybody before I do human design or biofield tuning, what is it you want to know? What are you struggling with? What do you have questions about? And they tell me what they tell me. And every time I come up with information about them that they didn't tell me. Mm-hmm. And I was hey, does this make sense in your life? And it's yeah, that happens all the time. And sometimes, and you'll know this, both of you, right? Sometimes what makes the biggest difference for someone is what they didn't think to tell you.
Yes, true.
And the biggest transformation occurs from taking what is so a normal part of their existence, they don't see it, mm-hmm. and clarify it, and then say, you know what, this is actually really feeding into your problem or what you're struggling with or your health or why you can't do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Looking at both of your guys' expertise, I'm sure this happens to you all the time, right? As a massage therapist, I ask people, so what's going on? And they tell me about some major injury while I'm working on them, as opposed to on their intake forms or when we were talking in the beginning, because they forget. Oh, yeah. And so these parts about who I am, the themes in my life that are in my chart, are such a normal part of my existence that I can't see them.
Yes.
Yeah. I talk about the fishbowl. The fish doesn't know that water exists. They can't live without the water, but they don't see it. And so when I make clear to the fish that water exists, they're oh, and it changes everything. That's what showing people about their human design is like. Yeah. It helps people see, oh, I didn't realize that not everybody has that experience. Right. So what do I do with that? And it can change their life. And so I love that my belief in human design comes from personal experience. watching it be real and transformative in people's lives. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah, and I love, so I had two other people before you read my human design, because like if you guys go and do your chart, you can find free charts. Like I've used the Jovian chart to do my free. You may have some other websites that you would recommend for people to get their chart. It is so confusing, right? So I hired one lady. I mean, it was good. She kind of just told me stuff that I already knew about myself. It wasn't like revolutionary or like help me shift perspectives, right? Like in coaching, I learned this from my coach, Stacey Bayman. You're one thought away from shifting your whole perspective, right? And they just never gave me that thought. And then the second reading was even more confusing because she dove into astrology and like just went a deep depth into it. And like, if you don't know that stuff, you don't even know the words that they're using, right? And it's like, I don't know what my risings, like, what does that even mean to me, right? So I was so confused. And then I did a chart reading with you, and you did such a good job of like making it practical, right? And giving you the perspective shifts, right? And it could be like where, like when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? Like just helping me understand that in business, me just being me, living my life is how I'm going to find my success, right? And understanding that my brain works like I take in information, and like the past is important to me and to help me see the solution for the future for humanity, right? Which is like a big statement, but that has always been my internal drive, is like, I know I am meant to help change the world. But then also you told me like, what was it? There was one other thing that was like pretty pivotal for me. My problem, what I always struggle with, is the solution that I'm supposed to help humanity with, right? Taking things personal, how my heart chakra and my throat chakra are connected. So all the no's and the rejections are going to feel super personal to me and how I'm designed. And my mission, part of my mission, is to help people not take things personal. Like you flipped it from being like a negative to like, this is part of my soul came here to learn this lesson, and this is the lesson that my soul is also supposed to help teach the world. Like that was such a huge perspective shift.
I love it. So I'm sure that you two have this happen too. You teach someone something that is helping them, right? And then when they speak it back to you, it's like, then you know that they got it.
Got it.
Right? I love it when that happens. See, what she just did was she just repeated back to me what she internalized, right? I shared an overwhelming amount of information about the chart. Yeah. Like you said,
look at all of the information.
You can do research for decades and have like thousands and, just like infinite amounts of information, but it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And so when I do a reading, I take that chart and I want you to see how it is showing up in your real life and in the things that you're struggling with, the questions that you have, so that you have practical strategies and understanding for taking this. This is just a meaningless piece of paper, really, but it's when I live it in my life that it makes a difference. Yes. So I love it that she just did that, because now I know that she can actually walk steps, take actions in her life based on the design.
Yes.
Now, what I told Kimberly and what I tell everyone is that the chart beams out into the world who I am. And it tells people out there, this is who I am. This is what I offer. This is how I can help you from a business perspective. And this is what I'm here to learn. The chart beams out into the world. So that's the chart. If what I do and I say is back here, the people out there get a confusing message. And if we're a business, right, just like you two are and I am, if I give a confusing message to people out there, they're not going to do anything with it. They're not going to get close to me because I'm confusing.
Yeah. Confused minds do not buy things.
Yes, absolutely. So what Kimberly just shared is she's got language from her chart. The themes in my chart have language with them. So now she can bring her words and her actions so it matches. And the people out there, their mind out there is going to get a consistent, energetic picture from me. And they're going to say, oh, I love what Carmen said. I love what Kimberly said. I'm going to call them up. I'm going to join their book club. I'm going to do this, post-traumatic growth program that they have, right? That sounds really cool, right? So when I take my words and my actions and I match my design, the vocabulary of my design, that's when I become like an electromagnetic force that draws people who want what I offer.
I just love that analogy.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. So I've already started applying it in my coaching, right? Because it's just like, it's in my brain and like how I see the world now. A lot of times as humans, we're conditioned and programmed to believe that we're broken, right? And that we're wrong for being who we are, right? And to have the chart validate who I am, and this is who my soul, when it came to earth, like is, right? Knowing this and honoring this. So when I look out into the world and like, I have a client that's really, she's like into like social justice and inclusiveness, right? Like that is her passion, right? That's not what my soul came. That's not the work that my soul came to do, right? Before I would shame myself. You're not a good human because this isn't your passion, right? But when you gave me that perspective shift, I was like, oh, this is what her soul came for. This is how she is wired. This is not who my soul came to be. This is not how I'm wired. It's okay. I'm not wrong or bad. I have a specific mission. And if I don't do my mission and I try to force myself to do her mission, well, who's doing my mission then? Right? So I love that it helps take some of the shame off for being who you are.
Yes, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
So there are always aspects of me for each person that I don't like, that I judge. Why do I do this? I hate this. How come I can't turn this off? For me, that used to be anger, for example. The first thing I learned about my chart was about anger. And when I learned that this aspect about myself that I really hated, I despised myself when I was younger, the truth is, right? When I learned that anger is part of my design.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with anybody else. I didn't do anything wrong. Nobody else did anything wrong. And I can't turn it off. Everything about my chart is like that. I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
So it's like this aspect that Kimberly's talking about. I judged myself about not being good enough in this area. And already she is saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with me here. I've got my gifts. You've got your gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to this anger thing that in our society has all kinds of judgment attached to it, right? There's something wrong with anger. You're not supposed to get angry, shut it down. That's some of the conditioning that we have when we're young, right? There's actually really powerful and important things about anger. The world would not get better if we didn't have anger.
Yeah.
People need to get upset enough about things that really are wrong and need to be changed, because we tend to, just want to be comfortable and be complacent, right? And, oh, I don't want to do anything that's too difficult, and let me just hold back, right? We need things that are so needing to be fixed that we become angry about it and do something.
Yep.
Without anger, there wouldn't be any growth and change. There's no progress, right? So now I can get that perspective on it. And like Kimberly is talking about, oh, this got triggered. I got angry. And then I step back. It's like, oh, there's me being a manifestor and having anger. So I communicate if I need to communicate, and then I get over it. I used to be mad for weeks at a time, literally weeks. I'm so glad I don't do that anymore, because if I get angry, I blow up, I communicate about it, and then it's gone forever.
Yeah. But you're living your design in that, right? Because manifestors, like I think when we talk, you guys speak it out, right? And like what is yours? Offer, make the offer? Is that, what is your design?
I'm a manifestor, and manifestors are designed to initiate.
So you speak
right?
it out, initiating the change.
Yeah. There are things about human design that sometimes can be kind of hard to understand.
Mhm.
And the process of integrating into your design is a journey of minimum 7 years. We say it takes 7 years to uncondition yourself,
Yeah.
but really it continues for life.
Mhm.
But this central aspect of being a manifestor, this being an initiator, I didn't understand it until 6 years into being a human design practitioner, 6 years into doing readings for other people. And I still didn't actually really understand this thing about initiating. I thought it meant I have to start projects, I have to start businesses, I have to start this. And it didn't feel like I could do that.
Mhm.
When I realized that for me, I initiate by saying something, by speaking, and then things happen that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah.
Now, people manifest, initiate differently. But for me, it was like huge light bulb moment when I realized, oh, I said something and all of this stuff happened
Mhm.
because I said it.
Yeah. I mean, this whole conversation, because you reached out to me in an email, hey, let's do a coffee date.
Yeah. Wow.
And then we got along so well.
Yeah.
And listening to you talk, I was like, wow, it'd be fun to work with you guys. So yeah, things are going to happen.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I appreciate you, sharing your perspective and learning a little bit more about human design. I think that what you're speaking to has a lot of power behind it. Yeah. And people, as they go through and understand that relationship between their being, if you will, and how that manifests since we were young, right? And how that has framed our whole worldview, whether we understand it or recognize it or not, right? To have that validation and even have the perspective change for folks is very powerful. Yeah, in your work. That's exciting.
Yeah. And it helps people understand that they are living their purpose 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always. And so many people out there feel like they don't know why they're here.
Mhm.
Like there are people who don't feel like they make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's part of that, conditioning
Yeah.
that we talked about. And the 5, I was listening to the episode of your podcast where you were talking about their 5 responses. That Kimberly,
Childhood wounds. From
yes,
childhood.
that there are 5
Mhm.
common responses. And so many people are there. I know, I like do all 5 of those myself. And this helps me to look at it from a different perspective. Now, there's another thing that I talk about all the time, that I am too close to my own stuff, right? The fish can't see the water, right? And so if I have these problems, it's like, I can't help myself. And you two have this happen all the time, right? There's something that somebody probably already knows, like from a fact basis,
Mhm.
but it's not integrated into their life, into their being, into their belief about themselves.
Right.
And so they need you or me to come from outside of their head. I call it an outside of my head perspective because I can't see myself.
Right.
So this is one of the big benefits of having coaching of any type,
Mhm.
because it gives someone that perspective of something that they really need. I know when I am in here doing my thing, right? It's like I run these loops over and over and over and over and over, and I get stuck.
Mhm.
Right? When, Carmen comes in and drips in, oh, whoop, think about that, it's like, oh, and a whole new possibility becomes available.
Yes. I mean, you
That's
just
what all
described the beauty of coaching.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, so the types for people that are unfamiliar, do you want to talk about that? Like, just to give people a taste of like human design.
Yeah. So manifestors, which is the type that I am, we're the only type that is designed to do what we call initiate. And in our society, there is this pressure that everyone has to just go do it, right? We've, in personal growth programs, decide what you want and just go do it. Mm-hmm. The truth is, that's what manifestors are designed to be able to do. It's not that easy, and no one else. And there's only 8% of the population that are designed to initiate that way. And so the pressure that society puts on us to do it that way is wrong for almost everybody.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay. And then we have the next type is generators. 70% of the population are either generators or manifesting generators. Generators have the energy to be able to work. They're the people who are designed to get most of the stuff done in the world. There's two types of generators that do not have a motor connected to the throat. On the chart, you can see this square up here is called the throat center. That's the center where I communicate, I get things done, I get heard, I get recognition, I get seen. Everyone wants those things, right? But it's easiest when I have a motor connected to the throat. These centers down here are what we call motors. Their energy for being able to do things. Mm-hmm. So when there's a motor connected to the throat, it's easier to be heard, to be seen and recognized. So manifesting generators have that motor connected to the throat. So they have the energy for working and this little bit more relative ease in communicating and being heard. People who are generators instead of manifesting generators don't have the motor to the throat part. So they might have a little bit more struggle with being heard and feeling like they can get things done. Generators and manifesting generators, they respond to yes or no questions. They do really well with yes or no questions. And then projectors, like Kimberly, projectors don't have a motor connected to the throat and they don't have the sacral center. So one of the things that projectors really struggle with a lot is projectors need to have invitations to be able to do things. And they get really mixed up and twisted around about, well, I don't want to have invitations. This is something that people, when they find out about their human design, they really object to. Yeah. I don't want to have invitations. I just want to do what I want to do. And so I help projectors like Kimberly understand the way to attract attentions is by being yourself. Just live your life doing what you care about. That's what Kimberly was saying that she learned, right? And that helps projectors be able, projectors also are here to know like where everyone's place is, where everyone fits. What are you good at? Projectors can see that for other people. That's one thing that makes, Kimberly a good coach is she can see what other people need. She can see where other people are stuck and how they're not filling their potential so that she can provide guidance that helps them be able to fill their potential. And then the fifth type, they're called reflectors. So on this chart, you can see that all those colored shapes, those are called centers. There's 9 of them, okay? The people who have all of those colored shapes, white or undefined, are called reflectors. And there's only 1% of all the people in the world who are reflectors. And reflectors have the really important job of reflecting the health of the community. The reflectors, because they have all of their shapes are undefined, they're taking energy in from the world in all of the ways, and they reflect it back out to the world.
Do you know a reflector?
Yeah. I have a
never
really
met
good,
one.
I have a really good friend who's a reflector, and I've had the gift of knowing her long enough and, learning from her about what it's like being a reflector.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because there's only 1% of the population. There aren't very many of them.
I've never met one.
Yeah.
Or maybe I have, and they weren't familiar with human design, so they didn't know they were reflectors. Yeah.
Or they do know, but it's not a topic of conversation. That's possible too.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a story, not a story that was part of my circle, but the story of what life is like for a reflector. There was a little girl, like in preschool age, who was a reflector, and she was going to preschool, and she was like really upset and just having a really hard time, struggling, really unhappy. And there was a boy in her preschool class who was just mean, and he was just like being mean to the other kids. And this little girl's being upset was a reflection of the health of her community. Her preschool community had this disruptive child in it. And so she was acting out. Okay. Circumstances happened that little boy moved away and was no longer in that preschool class. And so she stopped being upset, and she went back to being her normal, quiet, peaceful, good little self. So it's like, that's an example of how reflectors are showing the health of the community.
I feel so bad for them because I feel like the health of the world community is not great. Like that, it has to be a very hard existence for them right now.
Yeah. I think that they probably have to just not expose themselves to, the media in particular. I know my friend, she used to live like a manifesting generator, because the people that she knows are, lots of them are manifesting generators, and her husband is a manifesting generator. And so she didn't understand what a reflector was until we did her reading, and she started learning about it. And then over the years, she just kind of started integrating more of reflectorness into her life, no longer forcing herself to do so much and all that. And then her husband passed, which was really stressful for her, but it also totally freed her up. And she is a completely different person now than she used to be. She is like pure, just like being a reflector and loving it.
Wow.
Yeah. So if people are interested in doing human design and would love your amazing skill and talent, how do they go about connecting with you? And I'll put all this in the show notes as well, but I just wanted you to talk about like how they connect with you. Like, what does it look like to do a reading with you? What does that look like?
Okay. So I have a website, miracleinspirations.com. And when you go to miracleinspirations.com, you can submit information and pull a chart, and that's free.
Okay.
And I make a customized guide for you about your chart. I do that like manually, personally. I run the chart and I make the guide for you personally. Okay. And then while they're there, they can also book an assessment. So a time to have a short consultation with me, see if, I might be able to help them. I have a newsletter and a blog. I just started a series called Body Stores Stress, and about the different ways that the body stores stress. There's so many, so many different ways that happens. And so I've started a blog series about that, and that's all available through the website.
Perfect. So they can get a free chart there.
I'm
going to start sending all the humans there.
Thank you.
Yes, because I like the Jovian, but like if you're doing it and like making it more understandable, then yes, we're going to that website.
Let me tell you a story. Okay. So there's a woman who had read 3 whole books before her human design reading. And she had done a ton of research on the internet, and she came to her appointment with a 3-inch binder stuffed full
of human design research that she did.
Yes, she had so much information, and she didn't understand. It didn't make any sense to her. No. 0 sense, right? Because it's overwhelming, right? Every aspect of the chart has thousands of different ways of experiencing it, right? So it's like, imagine you have a crystal and there's thousands of facets, right? if I am experiencing one facet of it, there's so many other ways to experience it. So when we do a reading, we help you see how they all fit together.
Yeah.
I did that reading with her, and I helped her just make sense in her life and in her grandson's life, right? So that she understood her charts and what to do about them, making it practical.
Yeah.
Kimberly has practical ways to take these things that she learned and to put it into the action and beliefs, thinking about her life. Changes everything.
Yeah, it does. Maybe this is my projectorness. I'm like, oh, I think that you should develop a course for people to like nerd out, go deeper, learn more about it. Because I would love to start incorporating it in my coach so I can understand my clients better, my coaching practice. I'm like, Sandra would be great at having a course.
I've avoided that successfully.
Your projector friend's going to push you. Well, anything else you think that humans need to know about human design that would be helpful for them?
Understanding that you are living your truth 24/7. And that the traumas from the past that experienced, that those traumas relate to your chart. I attract experiences in my life to learn these things. And I believe that my soul, when I was, getting ready to be born, I believe that my soul manipulates the circumstances of my birth so that I will have the planets be in the sky where they need to be so that I can attract the experiences I'm here to have. And the only reason why I believe that is because the charts are so consistently accurate. So you are living your truth, you are giving your gift, making your contribution all of the time. And what human design does, it helps you recognize, oh, that thing that I do, that's me making my contribution. So that I am more satisfied that I am living my purpose and making a difference. Because that's what everybody wants.
Which is so beautiful, right? Because the programming we have, from coming out of Christianity, the programming that I had is that you had to go find your purpose. They have books, The Purpose-Driven Life, right? Like, go find your purpose. It's out here. And I spent so long outside of me looking for what this purpose was. I thought it was through a career, right? Which I did find. Coaching is my purpose. But I love that it's like, no, like, you're already living, you being you, your soul being on this planet is your purpose. You are already living it. That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah. And that everybody's different.
Yeah.
No two charts are the same, but even if you have twins and they have, if not exactly the same chart, very, very, very close, and they may express it completely differently.
That's crazy. So they don't have the exact same chart. There's differences in the charts.
It depends, right? So usually when twins are born, they're only a couple of minutes apart. Right? It's possible that there's a planet that moves from one gate to another gate during that couple of minutes. So the moon in particular. So it's like the moon moves faster than all the other planets do. And it's in, 3, maybe 4 different gates every day. So there could be a change in the chart during the couple of minutes between one twin being born and the second twin being born.
Which is cool because like their souls were like, we're going to be born at this time knowing that the gates are going to change from your soul to my soul.
Yeah. And like I said, I believe that the soul manipulates the circumstances. So it's like one of my friends, she was born by cesarean 2 weeks before her due date.
Okay.
And when I looked at her chart is so accurate for who she is. So it's like, my belief is that she knew I want to have these experiences So I need to be born 2 weeks before my birth, before my due date, and manipulate to have that.
Yeah.
And it's actually part of what has me have more faith and trust in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, you know, I have to have faith and trust, even when stuff is crazy out there, or I can't live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just knowing that each little soul knows why it's coming. And so if I am coming to have all kinds of really difficult experiences, I have to be able to trust that I came for that. And there's a reason, a positive reason for it. And my struggles, the things that were the hardest for me, the traumas, those become my greatest gifts. Because I develop, you know, survival mechanisms that have skills attached to them. You know, me being somebody who helps other people, right? That came about through feeling like I wasn't good at all 5 of those, you know, things that Kimberly talked about, right? I do all those. So, but I wouldn't be who I am with the gifts that I have, making a contribution that I have without that history.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't, when we stay in like victim mode and that this past and why did I have to experience this trauma, right? And living in the misery of that, I don't think it allows us to access the gifts and the lessons and the tools from those that we could be giving to the earth and the humans in it.
Can I do a little bit of biofood tuning? Because we're talking about trauma.
Yeah.
We have time? Okay. So I'm just going to do a little bit of biofood tuning to give you guys a preview for next week's podcast, okay? To help us like integrate this trauma experience and to see ourselves carrying those gifts forward.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So breathe and just feel supported by the ground, by the earth, and supported by the sun and by God, or whatever you believe in out there. And just feel those energies coming from the earth through the body and at the top of the head, and coming down from the sun, down from God, connecting you to the earth. And then think about all the experiences you've had in life, the positive experiences and the challenging experiences. And to see the gifts that you have associated with those experiences. And to take any judgment or unhappiness from any of that past stuff and letting that go off to the side. And just celebrate your gifts. Celebrate your strengths. And that you make a difference in the world. Breathe that making a contribution out from your heart, out to the world. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. I learned a lot and I'm excited to dive in a little bit more and experiencing human design.
Yeah. So I will link in the show notes, guys, way that you can hook up with Sandra and just really dive deeper into your design and have this amazing guide help you through it. So thank you so much again, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.